we might be surprised at the answer. And guess what? Jesus' focus once again raises the question of who belongs and who doesn't. When I read the gospel, my first thought is Jesus is really OCD on this topic. Not this topic again. But Jesus says and reminds us, God's embrace is wide. God's path is intended for all. And God always has an expansion plan. So life in the kingdom is inclusive, not exclusive. And we heard in Isaiah today that God will gather all the nations, all the people of the world. And then Jesus reminds us at the end of the gospel, he will gather them from the east and the west, the north and the south. A pretty wide reach. A reach that sometimes stretches us way beyond our limits. So our salvation, yours and mine, is not determined by just a superficial encounter with Jesus. Membership in a church, your name written on the records. Our eating and drinking and listening to him. And our life has to be more than just sitting at the table. Any table, this table. Salvation is not an exclusive membership, not to a particular group. And if we look around and we really use our minds, and we really study the history of the world, there are a lot of counterfeit kingdoms in this world, even today, that somehow appeal to our darkest prejudices and fears. Salvation is not a race or a culture, nor does it belong to those who love to claim Christ as our own, but not theirs. So Jesus reminds us today in the gospel, the door is narrow. The narrow door is found by doers of the word. And that means putting the words of Jesus into practice, making those words real within our lives and within our experience. So what are those words? What words should we be translating by our actions? Faith. Being able to trust that there's a vision for us and for this world that may be different than our own limited minds have. Generosity, forgiveness, justice, compassion. Jesus' way of doing it is what sets us apart. If we do what Jesus did, that will set us apart. If all we do is eat and drink and listen here, nothing's going to happen. It's only when we do it out there and take it out there and take that word out there and put it into practice. Those words that I just mentioned. It takes courage and love. And it's for the strong, not the weak. So at the last judgment, justice and mercy will be the key. Do you remember those words? When I was hungry, when I was thirsty, when I was naked, when I was a stranger, when I was in prison. And maybe we will look up, and there with the Lord will be all the nations of the world gathered, all the people from the east and the west, the north and the south, pointing at you and me and saying,